create more variety of color, more range. And that ties into sort of the second point is that idea of playing the space. And how to sort of adapt to each space and really sort of it being more a conversation with the space. So by that I mean it's a gorgeous space, first of all, and I felt like you were not always listening back to your sound. It felt a little bit right here. And that also is not only the sound, but musically, the idea of sending things out. The scale of your music like this, that idea of really projecting, playing the whole. I think that's a pretty important concept, and I think you can do so much. The silences in this piece, particularly, there is so much that vary depending on the space you're playing in. Of course, if you're in a drier space, you want more resonance, you might want to linger longer. If you're in a very resonant space, you're going to really listen back and make sure it clears, right? So I think that's something, particularly in the opening, that I thought you could play more with. So those are some ideas. Love to work maybe in a few spots to explore that. We'll start, I knew there was a third thing. Direction of phrases. So I really liked, as I said, sort of the overall character that you gave this piece. I think it was fitting very well with the context of what this piece is about. And maybe you want to share just a little bit about it for people that don't know this piece as well.
It was a pandemic project commissioned by cellist Tommy Mesa. It was a part of a set of songs called Songs of Isolation. Andrea was in Manhattan during the pandemic, and at 7 p.m. every day they would have a thing where everybody would go outside the windows and like bang pots and pans together as a tribute to essential workers. And it's about the isolation that everyone experienced during the pandemic.
Great. Yes, thank you for sharing. I think that's an important context to understanding this piece. So the third thing, direction of phrases. I thought sometime I liked how sort of what's the word? Sort of observing and sort of soulful and inward looking that the character that you had, but I still sometimes wanted to feel more where you were leading us. Particularly, I thought mostly in the slower sessions. So that's sort of those three ideas that I'd love to work on. Great. So let's start a little bit with that idea of playing the whole and playing with resonance in the whole. Could we try that opening again? And I'd like for you to really think of the corners of the group and that idea that you are feeling the whole with your sound and you're then listening back to what the sound is giving you. Great. So I think for that opening, just a few quick questions for you. So you have that coming back, right, a couple of times. So we sort of have 4 tries, and then finally we go on to our Milek. So tell me a little bit how you view that opening and maybe the relationship between all the formatas that we have. Like, is there one in particular that you are wanting to sort of drive towards or take more time, or how you sort of, I would say, beginning to the you would finally start singing more.
I don't know if drives quite what I was thinking. Like to get to the last one, but I feel like the last one needs to go to the biggest place. You know, they all start from the same spot, but at each time she develops it and adds either more notes or more dynamics or both, more tempos. Ideally, I'd like it to be like a step stool of the higher notes.
Great. I think excellent. I think one of the main difference that I think of the fermata is they all have diminuendo except the last one. Right? That's the only time that actually she carries sort of the energy toward that. So maybe that's something that you can sort of think about. Great. I think could we try that opening? I apologize for not tuning back now. It's just my cello is So the very opening, I still from can you feel like through the harmonic, the spin of the sound? I think we can still increase that just a little bit more to try to really get that resonance. And maybe a little bit more overall shape. I know this is very tiny detail, but since you sort of this piece well, second time is actually the softest. That's what I would recommend, not starting too soft, right? So the first, it's piano, but you need to have one level lower, and second time, actually softest. And maybe, all these C sharps, what type of syllable, what start do you want? Right now I'm hearing, and that would totally be what you're looking for, but sort of more of a consonant. And I wonder if that's exactly which one, the way you're starting those C sharps.
Maybe like a sound, there's some start, but it's not hard.
Yeah, I think, are you hearing sort of what I'm getting? It sounds a little bit sort of ta, or like a little, I think you can round that out just a little bit more. Great, let's talk a little bit about the next phrase. It's good, I think all the 16th notes could be more gestural. So I don't think they are, I don't know, for me I don't hear them as even. And she does the little dash. Sorry, this sounds horrible. Maybe I should do that. Let me try to do that. My cello will play later. Something really sort of gestural, and the same goes for the next one. Could we try maybe would you like to go from 5 or 7, something like that?
Sure.
Keep thinking of staying nice and open and a lot of spin in the sound. at, of course, dynamics written on the page, but something to keep in mind a little bit more is register. And what each register of the cello needs from you. I think you're approaching it beautifully, but I think sometimes I don't see enough changes the way you're approaching your lower string versus your upper strings. So for example, in angle, in like weight, even to get to that chord, contrast more your bass, I think a little bit deeper, and perhaps when you have the melody, you can find sort of a different color. It can still be rich, but maybe a little bit more adjustment of all the parameters, right? What are the four main parameters to adjust colors?
Speed, width, content.
Yeah. And now from vibrato. Yeah. So make sure that you're playing on all of these parameters to create even more variation of colors. Can we try somewhere around there? Natural weight of the arm. So when we're playing super close to the bridge, so there is an increased tension, right, in the string, and actually it's a great way of knowing if you are pressing or not, right? Because that part of the instrument actually does, it's the most obvious if there is even a tiny bit of tension. So what I'd love for us to try, saying all the things that you said were absolutely right, but could you tie that into the idea of melting into the instrument, using your back? Make sure that you're just using the weight of your body to really get that bigger sound that's on that upper register. Can we try that once more? Yeah, how did that feel in the audience? A little bit more open? Okay, I want to add one more thing. So I thought you were more relaxed. I think we lost a little bit in musical intensity. So I think maybe one thing that you can think about more is, and one image that has helped me, is that idea of you want more resistance in the sound for the bigger moments. That's why playing close to the bridge really helps with that. It's the idea of sort of moving the arm through water. I want it to feel, particularly in the second half of the phrase, when you have, bear with me. I felt like we came away from the bridge. It's very stupid. So I think just really feeling more cool. It should be harder to move through the way around, just a little bit more. Could we try it one last time? Let's go back a little bit in context. One last little thing actually. I saw a little bit of tendency sometimes to maybe not tilt a little too much in the big moments particularly. I think you can just be mindful of, you can still tilt, but what you have to watch out is making sure that's strong with the strength. Could we try wherever you'd like in that? And a little bit more actual now. how much you're going to give for the low, and keep some space to really sing out on your upper strings. Could we try just from there? Very good. Sorry to stop you. Just one last little thing on this. The 16 steps for me, what are the role of those 16 steps? Do you think?
Use more gestural to get to
Yeah,
something like that.
right. It's just to create momentum to the chord.
landing points that I want to get to on the way to the big on the last part of the page.
Great. I think maybe, for example, the last measure, right, really leading to that. For me, I almost heard you playing less there. Did you notice that a little bit? So let's try that again. Now, give me a few adjectives for your sound. Always tied to character, right? So you said prod. What are we going for in terms of overtone, or like, is it a dark sound? Is it a sparkly sound? Is it a bright sound? Just give me a little bit more characterization of how you hear it.
Open, definitely. I don't know if warm is quite the right word, but it's definitely like a mellow warm.
Okay.
Like a bright warm. Very singing and open is what I want.
Yeah, great. So I think sort of going with that open quality, and I still feel like the amount of weights that you were using, you were fighting tiny bit still. So try to go for more spin. I think that will help with that open quality. So particularly. to me, this still feels a tiny bit suspended. So try to really think of your, that part of my anterior back. So right here, the shoulder blade, think of the shoulder blade really sitting and being relaxed and supporting everything that's happening in your arm. Could we try that again? Same thing. Yeah, I think that's really what we need to use for our core, and we need to make sure that we are using our finger, which is our finest or micro muscle. We are actually using them for that purpose. For shaping, for finishing, for sculpting. If we're just trying to just put like pressure, we're actually sort of suppressing what the beauty of, of sort of the more finer things. Good. One little thing that has to do, we talked a little bit about the tilt. I would be perfectly mindful of that when you're in the upper half of the bow. I feel like we tend to tilt a little bit more, and because we're already in the lightest part of the bow, I feel like you're losing a tiny bit of sound in that upper half of the bow. I'd love for you to feel like you're really moving the weight. I was sort of trying to show you a tiny bit more of the swing, but trying to really making sure that you have sort of that follow through in that part of the bow a little bit more. So in terms of the tempo, 90s, so a little faster, right? So I think maybe if you want to take a tiny bit more, 80 might be a tiny bit too fast. Maybe the beginning and then how it contrasts with the espressivo one. It takes a little bit of, I would suggest maybe more of a color change and maybe not slowing down too much, because then we have the slower tempo, right? So could we try maybe? If you can still be in 2 there and not in 4, I think that will help you to carry the phrase all the way to the that tension right there. One tiny left hand, a little bit of the left hand thing. Sometimes I feel like I see a tiny bit of motion. I think maybe you can make sure that you feel set always first. I think you can have more, a little bit more stability. So sort of waiting for the left hand green light. Okay, I'm set before moving the bow. Could we try the same thing? How about we just go one measure before the 90? So this is so. What do you think? How did that feel?
I like it. It's easier to create direction with the into feeling.
Yeah, I think it's held for me as more as one phrase versus sort of a little bit of more fragmented. Great. Keep playing around with contact points. I still sometimes we have a tendency to want to be maybe a little bit where the string has less tension, which I think forces us to then tense up more too. So let the string have tension and let's really enjoy sort of a more relaxed right arm. Good. Oh, I have one little suggestion, totally up to you, but personally I like sliding. I think it could be nice to connect. Especially since you have to be there for the chord. And just a tiny, also being super nitpicky, no decrescendo till the very light. I think you can stay more intense. Stay. Forget how awkward all this is. Yeah. Could we try from somewhere around there? What's that? So same thing. Don't press on the like the color, but for me, that's not a projected mezzo piano. So if we want that same color, to me, that I think has a more chance of being heard. So it's the same sort of keeping that maybe transparency or something like that, but in a way, I think if you're using just a tiny bow, what you're using is the string is not doing this. You always have to go back to that sound. It's that spin, right? So anything you do here, you're just increasing the spin, right? So we try.
My name is Walding. I'll be playing the prelude.
think a lot of the things that we've talked about in the lesson already, you're doing a great job at implementing it. Great. So I think maybe we can just go a little bit deeper in some of the things, sort of similar things, but go a little bit more in depth. Let me just do back up. I thought overall the sort of high points came across better. That was very good. I still want to work a little bit with you on, I think you've got a very clear idea of what you want to do musically. I don't always feel like it's totally being channeled through the instruments in a way that's sort of sculpting. I think you go further. I feel sometimes we're a tiny bit, if this is the string, we're sort of touching the head of the string, but not the full sort of potential that you have in certain places, not always, right? So could we, I just would love to do a couple of things, sort of talking about the right hand. I think that idea, we touched on it very briefly this morning, but the idea of not lifting from there, I think finding, if you can really focus on that idea of opening, a down bow is an opening up here and then up bow is closing. I'd love to just see how that affects sort of your sound. And what I'm looking for is more overtones in your sound. Right now it's beautiful, but it's a little bit, I don't hear those lower or higher overtone enough. So could we try and see if that helps getting those overtones? Maybe the opening?
while you were playing,
gave to me a more like a cushion in the sound. Did you hear that as well? So I think for me, this is really, I wouldn't, I think you've got a good sense of what you're doing, but this is, I think, very important to create a sort of a multi-dimensional, something that is less sort of monochromatic. Could we try, maybe not the beginning, that was very good. I'd love to go from, and so the idea of overtones really happen in how you're starting the note. So I think if you focus on to make that ring, like it's just really sort of how I'm starting that. Making sure I'm creating that ring. Could you go from there and just watch out a little bit anytime you have 1 + 3 and you're going? I'm still feeling a little bit of a kick on the single note. Try that. things going this way, versus letting let gravity happen. We're very lucky compared to violinists. We actually can really leverage the bow really going to the string. Where would you like to go from? Do you want to go maybe from feeling the connection a little bit more in the knuckles? Good, better. Thoughts on that? Did you feel a little bit more?
I feel especially when I have detached since it's more exposed to this.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's a hard stroke, right? But then sort of the idea of letting on the down bow, sort of the sun moving, like it's opening, closing, sort of like that. I think you could have a little more of just a tiny bit maybe still on the surface of the string. Can we try it maybe a little bit slower and think of it more directionally with the bow. So down bow, maybe pulling from here and then up bow. Just a little bit more difference in your hand between downs and ups. Can we try that? We can once more, and now when you're toe-tato, try to let that also sort of, I think it feels a little bit suspended on the A. Toe-tato, so try to start from a really relaxed point. How was that for you?
Great.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit just richer in the sound. Could we try that now in tempo? And it's all about, it's so important, particularly in Bach, it has to always be your dream sound. Don't get satisfied with a nice sound, but it has to really, I mean, you can work sort of tirelessly, right? So what I'm really trying to get the ring of the C, and then phrasing from the second sequence. Finally, we free up onto that little, right? So I think you can also same thing, modify your stroke a little bit more. The D was not like I wanted. Really finding right? Which one that a little bit more, so really listening back to your sound even more and making sure it matches your vision. Still that idea of playing the whole, really making it so resonant. I think the whole section can just breathe more. It feels a little bit sort of constrained, right? So when you in your bow more space to really ring and resonate, like caring for every single note and letting it breathe, letting it, yeah, have that shape. direction doesn't mean you can't take time and sort of smell the flowers, right? So I think you could still combine that. You had a nice color change, you know, starting right, so you could still do all of that, but it's really that idea of pulling a thread, and you could do this, but still, like, we have to feel that sense of arrival. Keep playing, I think, a tiny bit more with this nice dissonance in this section. I think in your bow, you could reflect that clash. I think that has to be reflected as well in the way you're playing the G. You know what I mean? So. Harmonic chord progression a little bit more. Nice job getting into it. Keep feeling spacious in all of that. Not really opening up, staying very, very free with the instrument. Do you want to try one last time? I know we've talked a lot about this section. And just whatever it is now that you decide, just be committed to it 100%. It's about commitment. Exploring what further than what the cello is giving us, that idea of really going further in what we can do with sound. I think especially in Bach, there is so much we can do. So always trying to imagine this is sort of the frame. I think the most special music making happened closer to the edge of the frame than staying sort of comfortably in the middle. So I think in your practice, I would just explore a lot of different way of playing that, because then I think it helps clarify what you like and what you don't like, instead of sort of being a little bit in between ideas. Great, let's talk a little bit about the ending. So we talked in the lesson about that idea. Is it more the G sharp, or are we phrasing this way? So would you like to go from there? I think you can shape even more. Even more, but beautiful. One little thing on this matter. That's a really tricky one. Give me a couple of ways you've practiced it, or how you would sort of make it a little bit more comfy in the bow.
I'm not sure how to make it more comfy because it's still really hard for me to do. But I've done some slurred staccato,
okay,
and also done like retakes just so I like know what angle my bow is at for each one.
Yeah, all of that is very good.
I'm also slurred by beat and even by the bar, just to feel that range of motion.
Okay. All of that is good. Have you done a lot of open string work?
Yeah, I've done some.
Okay. So I think it says, wow, okay, sorry. Can I get an A? I think it's a little bit in the way when we were talking about the knuckle. I think you need a little bit more of that. So I think feeling, what you can feel is sort of that idea of directionality in the fingers. So let's try an exercise. Just we'll workshop it together. Could you try once doing it more, less from here, but actually more from the fingers? Just good. Now hold it down, but could it be even more range in the fingers? Yes. Okay. Yes. Does it feel like a little bit of a stretch? Okay. So of course we're not going to play it like that. But the idea now of putting it back into context is getting sort of that flexibility and see if that can sort of help refine that string crossing. Could we do it under tempo on open string? Good. What is the note that has a little bit of a less clear start? Play it again.
It's a D string.
Yeah, I think it actually is for me whenever you come back to the G. So this one feels a little bit maybe not totally balanced. That's better. So yeah, I think whatever you were doing with staccato work, I think that's how really very clear start. Can we try now with the left hand? See if that helped a little bit. Good. Now could you do it in a way that was actually more controlled? Did that feel a little bit better? Now just make sure you're leaving sort of a little bit more space. Nice. So it's all about feeling in control, but not, because we're in control, making it into a tiny little box, right? So you can still move as much as you'd like with that control of the fingers. Nice. Yeah, that was better. Let's talk a little bit about chords at the end. I like what you did. I think it was very nice. Could you go from how about right there, wherever you were? Love to hear that again. there's just those high sort of string that are a little bit more sensitive. Perhaps we can just, give them taking the weight from the side of the string versus sort of applying and being very mindful of what that string needs, which is less weight, more speed. and sort of maybe trying that out a little bit to give it, try to listen for rounder sound and not too nasal. Can we try that? Very good. That was better. I think that was more part of the sound. Careful just the rhythm there. The B tends to be a little bit too short, right? Maybe it's because we run a little bit out of. Okay, so can you control it? Safe. When you're doing this chord, I feel like you're using quite a lot of rope. Could you use more depths? That's sinking more in the string, but we're also saving that way. Great, and now just as you get to the upper string, what do you need to do?
Lessen the pressure.
Right, so